Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again. In this video, I'm going to be doing a review of the demo Helpless Souls by the thrash metal band Betrayel. This is their debut demo and it was released in 1986. So before I get into the songs, I'm going to name off the band members really quick. Let's see, oh, here it is. Chris C. on bass and vocals, James C. on guitar, James J. on guitar, and hold on, Arlie, oh sorry, Arlie, that's how you pronounce it. Arlie P. on drums. So the first track is the name of the band, Betrayel. It's just a really cool, very fast-paced, sort of very much classic thrash metal, 80s thrash metal style of song. It has sort of like a Exodus vibe, like early Exodus, like the first album. Especially with the vocals by Chris C, who very much at times sounds like Paul Bailoff from Bonded by Blood. Especially with the high rasps, those really sort of like shouting high rasps kind of thing. But also at times he kind of sounds like Tom Araya from Slayer, with more when he's more doing the more not guttural but more sort of mid to slightly more low sort of like gravelly vocals. And those kind of vocals sort of change up quite constantly throughout the song. In fact, quite constantly throughout the album, not album, demo. He goes back and forth between the two different styles. But yeah, just a really great song. Just a really cool main riff, and the solo is really good as well. Also it's a really cool structuring too. Like it starts with, of course it has the main riff, but then it goes into like a sort of shorter, sort of like I don't know, kind of other riff. Then it goes back, and then it builds up to the actual solo on the song. And also there's a really cool chorus as well, and a really cool riff with the chorus, which is not in the main riff, but it's still really cool. Next up is the title track of the demo, Helpless Souls. This one is probably my favorite song on here, and probably my favorite song by this band as a whole. It just has a really cool atmosphere to it. I mean, most of the songs on here have a really good atmosphere. Hold on. Anyway, so but the riff is my favorite riff off the entire demo. It's just this really cool. Like it opens with this sort of like a slowed down sort of not it's not necessarily the main riff. The main riff kicks in a little bit after that, but it's this really cool sort of like, it's a riff that's very moody and very fitting, and how they use it for the first few like seconds, not second, maybe yeah, first few seconds of the opening of the song, and it builds up and it builds up, and you hear it's only once with that riff, but you hear a little clang on the cymbals. And then the actual main riff kicks in over top of that opening riff, and then on both sides of the speakers you hear like the main notes being played on one side, the note, and then the next note, and then the next note, and the next note on each side of the speakers on the left side, and then as the main riff gets amps up and amps up and amps up. It gets faster, and then all at once, the main riff, each note goes from being just played on one side and the other to both sides, and then the song just springs to life. It's just really cool how they do that opening of that song, and just builds up tension, and then it just lets loose. as I said before, the main riff is just super catchy, as well as the chorus. The chorus is the one of the probably one of my favorite, in my opinion, one of the catchiest thrash metal choruses ever. It's just really really cool, and of course, what's his name? Chris C's vocals are probably the best out of the entire demo. He sounds great throughout, but he just he pretty much just channels his inner Paul Bailoff with this vocal performance on this particular song. Like he very much sounds like Paul Bailoff here, and I absolutely love Paul Bailoff's vocals. And this is probably the most, maybe not. I would say it's probably one of the most Exodus sounding, or early Exodus sounding songs on here, with a little bit of Slayer influence as well. And of course, it is really classic thrash metal guitar solo, classic sounding thrash metal guitar solo, and it's just really cool, very wild and frenzied. Um, and yeah, just a really great song. Next up is the song Death, Destruction, and Pain, which is the only song off of here that was featured on the Raging Death split, which I'll talk about later on near the end of the video. This band was one of the bands featured on the legendary Raging Death split. Anyway, Death, Destruction, and Pain. Honestly, I'm surprised that they chose this song to, promote their music and promote their stuff. They chose this song to end up on that Raging Death split. But yeah, honestly, I don't know if this was a fan favorite, but honestly, to me, it's just a very forgettable song. It's just a kind of a very plain, very simple, very like overly simple, very generic thrash metal sounding song. And I'm all for more of the simple stuff from time to time. Not simple stuff. I'm more for the standard thrash metal stuff. But it just doesn't fit with the rest of the songs on here. The rest of the songs on here have a very specific style and atmosphere. This song doesn't have that. Like it's very as standard as of a thrash metal song as this band could have done, at least in this point in time, during their early days. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't click with me, and I don't know why this. Anyway, it seems to me it might have been a fan favorite because it was the song featured later on the Raging Death split. But yeah, this song just does not work in my opinion. Thankfully, the demo picks up again with the song Cathedral. This is the shortest song on the album, but probably the most impactful, oddly enough. Like, this song is only like 2 minutes and 40 something seconds, but it has the best chilling atmosphere. Like, it starts, the song Cathedral starts off very moody, very doomy. Like, it has this really mid to slow pace sort of opening, and it doesn't really build up like the title track, but it stays in this really dreary, moody atmosphere. Again, slow to mid to slow kind of pacing, and you get this really cool riff that just adds really the atmosphere to it. And then along with that, the riff, there's this really cool sort of like I don't know, inflection. I don't know who does what on this. In terms of who does what guitar. I don't know. There's two guitarists on here, but I don't know who does what solo or what riff on here, whatever. But there's the riff going on, and then on top of that, you get throughout like little inflections of the other guitarist. Doing a little inflections on his guitar, like slight dive bombs and slight like just little weird, odd notes, guitar notes and stuff. It's really cool. Yeah, so, and that does go out through the entire song, but especially in the opening, like this really cool inflection on the guitar that just is just very interesting and cool sounding. Alongside of that, you get this really cool constant like cymbal clanging. It's just like a very rhythmic, slow but rhythmic and constant kind of clang, clang, clang going on. And then the song sort of gets in the main bit, and it stays in this. It's slightly faster, but ever so slightly, and then it builds up after that. As the vocals keep getting more and more aggressive sounding, and it builds up into this really sort of short but sweet, cool riff, this fast-paced riff. And then it goes, it stops, it goes in another riff, and then the main solo of the song, the guitar solo begins, and that's where the song just absolutely goes from, more of a moody type, slow to mid type song to an absolute just face-melting assault. I mean, it's just really cool. Yeah, it's awesome. I love this song. I just wish it was longer than 2 minutes. Anyway. And then the song to end the demo is called Beyond the Gates, which, hold on, I'm going to put this down for a second, which is probably my favorite of their album closers. Not like album closer. I'd say, no, I could just definitely call it an album closer, even though this is just a demo. And they haven't released a lot of stuff. Again, there was that split, and then another demo, and then one album quite recently. But out of their releases, in terms of closing tracks, this one is my absolute favorite. This one is just like from start to finish, just fast paced, it's a face melter, and it's just very cool. You have these really awesome sort of just wild frenzy guitar riffs along with the vocals, and then you get a really cool sort of chugging riff near the middle of the song that goes into a really cool 2-part guitar solo, which is probably my favorite solo on the entire demo. It starts off, the first half is this so it has a bit more melody to it, and then the second half of the solo, it still has melody, but it's a lot more frenzied and chaotic. And it's a prolonged solo too. Like, you think it stopped at one point, but then it keeps going for a bit more. It's very frenzied, very chaotic, but it's just very, very memorable as well. And then that ends the demo. So my overall thoughts on here. I might as well show off the artwork really quickly as well. So first off, the artwork. The artwork is actually slightly different compared to the original 86 version. Now, this demo was originally only released on cassette tape. It wasn't like limited copies or anything, at least not that I could find information on. It never said anything about limited. Usually these things were, but this one I don't think was. There were, this is the main artwork, or at least a representation of it. I mean, the original artwork was very similar to this, just a little bit different. The original artwork was yellow and black, yellow with a black background. It did have the logo and everything in this, and the skull, but it was slightly different because it didn't have this pentagram and then whatever the hell that thing is. I don't know, an A with a circle around it. And it didn't have the inverted and right side up crosses on the forehead of the skull. It actually had a pentagram on the skull, just like it has on the eye sockets. There were actually 3 different variants of this artwork, at least that I know of. There was this standard yellow on a black background. And then there was red on a black background, which everything on here was red, and then it had the black background. And then there was another one that I don't know if this was false or not, but apparently there was also a blue variant, which was all this is blue and then the black background. But I can't find any pictures of the blue variant, so I don't know if that was like just a rumor or somebody made that up. I found pictures of the original yellow version and the other red variant, but as for the blue variant, I can't find any pictures from that, so I don't know if that's true or not, but there's at least 2 variants confirmed. Yeah, as for the original compared to this one, I don't mind. I like the original and this version pretty much equally. I don't really care, I don't really like one more than the other. They're both great. As for the logo. The logo is really, really cool. Their OG logo that I think they only used, I think for this release, and then they changed it for their second demo. But yeah, it's really cool. It has sort of like a font that kind of looks like melting candle wax. And then, of course, there's a skull with a candle on top of it there. And then, of course, it's sort of has like a pentagram on it as well. And also, I like how the T is pretty much like an upside-down cross. Kind of like the Death logo, how they use the T as an upside-down cross as well. But yeah, that's really, really cool. Helpless Souls, again, you get the title right there. And then on the back, there's a lot here. So first off, you get like a little quote. It says, Attention posers, prepare to die as you feel the wrath of helpless souls. Which was, the first half was actually said as a sort of a slight intro in the first track. Yeah, and then you get the track listing, as well as the band member credits, and then some credits for other people. And then at the bottom here it says, yes, there is thrash. Now, there are actually, I think, 2 different versions of this re-release. This is a re-release by High Roller Records, which is a really cool record company. They're good at releasing a lot of like obscure, or re-releasing a lot of obscure thrash metal and death metal and stuff like that. You don't get much bonus content, but you do get hold on if I can get this out of the case. You do get this little like postcard type thing with a picture of the band members and the wrong spelling of the name of the band. Technically, yes, it's spelled correctly with the A-L instead of an E-L, but Betrayel actually, here's the correct version. E-L at the end there. Now, of course, it's purposely spelled wrong as E-L instead of A-L, mainly because there was a lot of thrash metal bands, or a lot of metal bands in general at the time with the same name, so they had to, switch it up a bit to stand out, so they, had Betrayel with an E-L instead of an A-L. Yeah, there's a picture of the band members there, as well as a logo in the back. And then this is a picture of the original cover for the cassette, which for some reason they when they photocopied this to put on here, they didn't put the color on it. It's just a black and white copy. But the actual copy would either be red with a black background or yellow with a black background. Or supposedly another version, which is the blue and black background. But anyway, there's the original. As for the record itself, there are 2 versions. There's the standard black vinyl, which seems to be less common for some reason with this particular re-release. And then there is this version, which I got, which I didn't realize was the colored vinyl version, but, I like both standard black vinyl and colored vinyl. Especially when it's the translucent color. And this is a really cool translucent blood red. It kind of looks orange on screen for some reason, but it's a crimson red color. There isn't much to this except for, of course, you get the pentagram on there on the center, and then a picture of somebody's foot, one band member's foot with a cast on it. Now, something interesting about this re-release is that even though technically it's only one-sided, here's the thing. The original cassette tape was single-sided, which means it only had enough songs for side A and not side B. So you would think, what would they do for a vinyl pressing? That's an interesting thing, because with this vinyl pressing, side A is a remastered version of the original audio. Side B is the original audio. So on side A, you get a completely remastered version. Side B is the original audio from the original '86 version. So that's really, really cool. And I do prefer the I prefer side B with the original audio. Now that's not to say that side A, the remastered version, is bad, but I mean, you would have to listen to both the remaster and the originals back to back to really sort of notice. And it's not that noticeable to most people, I would think, but for me, being very familiar with both versions, hearing both versions multiple times over and over again. The remaster version is slightly cleaner sounding, has a slight more, ever so slightly more polished sound, but it's, I don't know, I just prefer the original version. It's a little bit more grittier, a little bit more sort of, not muddied, but it has a little bit more, like, grit and sort of dirtiness to the sound. Anyway, so overall, this is an absolutely phenomenal start to their career. Unfortunately, later on, after their second demo and after the Raging Death split, which was actually Raging Death was for those who don't know, was a record, a split record with multiple thrash metal bands on it. That helped promote them in the early days. After that, the band kind of, for some reason, disbanded for a long time. They actually recently got back together, like, I think 2 years ago, and released their first ever full-length album. But anyway, getting back to Helpless Souls. Helpless Souls, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10. It's nearly flawless. Really, my only complaint is the song Death, Destruction, and Pain, which, again, like I said before, is just a very forgettable, very standard cookie-cutter type thrash metal song. But everything else is phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. Alright, so that was my review of Helpless Souls by Betrayel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.